All right, guys, so today we're going to be talking about a great collection. It's from the house of PRADA, and it is the Rossa line. I've actually been meaning to do this video for quite some time. It's been on my mind. In fact, a couple of you have even requested that I do a video on the Rossa collection. The only thing that was holding me up was that I was missing a bottle of the Extreme, and I did want to have all of them in order to do this video. Yeah, Extreme, as you know, has been discontinued, and it isn't necessarily hard to find a bottle, but it is difficult to find one at a good price. Recently, a friend was able to grab a couple of bottles, and he gifted me one, which I'm very appreciative of, and well, it allows me to go ahead and do this video today. So anyway, yeah, I'm very excited to do this, and I thought that it would be pretty interesting to do an overview of the collection. And with a collection this size, you know, there's always going to be, with multiple flankers, this question of whether or not you really need to have all of the fragrances. For some of us that are collectors who really have a love for a particular house or for a particular fragrance on a line like this, yeah, we might see the need to collect all of them. And sometimes it's just in our blood. It's a part of our nature to collect them. And we kind of like the way that they all look on our shelves, lined up and all that good stuff. That's not the case for everybody. So I thought it would be interesting just to go through each one and kind of point out, you know, even though they do have a very similar DNA that runs through all of them, there are subtle differences. There are nuances there that can be picked out that make each one of them unique and stand apart from the others. So I thought that we would talk about that just a little bit. But as far as the background of the collection is concerned, the collection was launched in September of 2012, of course, with the original Rossa. And the inspiration was the sailboat and sail team Red Moon, or Rossa, from the America's Cup. So it seeks to kind of evoke the feels and the imagery associated with extreme sailing. And that is truly represented in the overall aesthetic and design of the bottles and so forth. The bottle design comes from Swiss designer Yves Behar. Sure, I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but I gave it my best shot. And they're just, you know, very attractive, nice looking bottles. I think they're very eye-catching. When you pass them at a department store sitting out on the counter, they grab your attention. You are curious to see what they smell like. The fragrances were composed by Daniela Andrier, all except the most recent release of Ocean. That was done by Anne Filippo and Carlos Bename. And I'm a huge fan of all three of those perfumers. And I think they've done an amazing, awesome job with this particular collection. So let's get into each one of the fragrances here. Again, kind of looking at how they are alike, but also different. All right, so the original Rossa from 2012. This is definitely what I would call the epitome of a clean, just out of the shower type of aromatic freshie. This has mint, clary sage, bitter orange, ambrette, and ambroxan, and it is just very versatile. I think you could wear it just about anywhere, but I really think it's perfect for the office workplace type of setting, kind of similar to the way that Prada L'Homme is. Of course, you're getting iris there. With the Rossa, you're getting lavender instead, but just very appealing, very attractive, very non-offensive. Again, perfect for the workplace if you're looking for a go-to fragrance for that type of setting. In 2013, the very next year, they released a special edition of the original Rossa called the America's Cup Special Edition. That one is pretty much the same as the original, so it's redundant unless you do want that bottle variation, because it did have different packaging. That same year, they also released the Extreme version, which, as we mentioned earlier, has now been discontinued. It's kind of strange that as the second, technically the second release, not counting the special edition and the first flanker, it's strange that they would have gone with an extreme release. It just seems to be something that you kind of do a little bit further down the line. But at any rate, I really feel like this one is, it was a precursor or a forerunner to the black version. With this, you still have the lavender, but they've added a little bit of extra depth, some oomph to that original DNA by adding vanilla, amber, and pepper. So yeah, if that original would be considered an aromatic freshie, an ambroxany freshie, this would definitely be categorized as a fresh spicy. With that pepper off the top, you've got a little bit of juniper berry in there too to give it a green tinge. I will say that in the first 10-15 minutes of spraying this on skin, I do get kind of a sour-like smell off my skin. It's something that it kind of bothered me when I first wore the fragrance, but it's something that I've kind of gotten used to. It's not exactly off-putting, it's weird. I'll put it that way. But after that 10-15 minutes and the fragrance starts going into the dry down, it's a very, very nice, very enjoyable fragrance. Moving on to 2015, that year saw the release of Sport. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now, guys, I'm going to readily admit this is one of my top picks from the collection. This would fall into the number 2 spot for me, actually. With Sport, the Luna Rossa line kind of moved into a more sweeter direction. They did that by adding tonka bean. They amped up the vanilla to the point where the powderiness is a lot more prominent in this. And then there's also the added note of ginger in the top that adds, a little bit more of a zingy, fizzy quality to the overall composition. This has become a go-to fragrance for me. I love wearing this to work out, going to the gym, just because it is the epitome of a mood enhancer, a mood lifter. Awesome stuff here. Oh Sport from 2016. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. This one is more about the citruses with bergamot and citron off the top, which makes it a great summertime fragrance. Because of the ginger, just like Sport has, it does have a little bit of that fizzy quality, very similar to, like, say, Dior Homme Cologne. A lot of people talk about that one as having like a fizzy lemonade type of thing going on. This is very similar. It definitely heads in that direction. Not quite as much, but still it is in the same ballpark. And again, just a great, great summertime fragrance. So Carbon is up next from 2017, and this is where things really started going in a different direction for the Luna Rossa line. With the popularity of fragrances like Sauvage, it was inevitable that Prada would no doubt try to do their own version of it. And, they already had the lavender going on. They had the ambroxan from the original and then the pepper from the extreme. So they took those 3 elements, combined it with watery mineral notes, and then in keeping with the name Carbon, there's also the note of coal. So very interesting set of notes. And yes, it does in a way replicate that Sauvage DNA. But to me, Carbon is a lot more enjoyable to wear than any of the versions of Sauvage, the EDT, the EDP, or the Parfum. I will not include the elixir in that because I just happen to really love the elixir. I think that in itself is on a whole nother level, and we'll probably talk about that in a future video. So I admitted earlier that Sport was my number 2. My number 1 would definitely be Prada Black, Luna Rossa Black from 2018. Yeah, I'll say it again. I feel like Extreme was a nice precursor for this one. With Black, though, they were really trying to go in a more upscale, dressy, elegant direction. You feel the Luna Rossa DNA with this one, but guess what? There is no lavender, supposedly. Instead, this is all about tonka bean, amber, and then there's also bergamot, angelica, patchouli, and musk. But overall, I think the common denominator here, the reason that you really feel that common thread with the rest of the collection, is the sweet powderiness that is very similar to Sport. So I would say this is a great combination, a great melding of Sport and Extreme coming together, but done so in a more sophisticated, even romantic, maybe even sexy. A lot of people consider this a very sexy fragrance. That is, it's made for date night. It's made for special occasions even. But definitely, hands down, my favorite from the Luna Rossa collection. And now we come to the latest release. This came out just last year, 2021, and it is Ocean. This has gotten a lot of mixed reviews. In fact, I've heard a lot of people say that they don't care for it because they feel like it's not quite up to the Prada standard, that they tried to play it way too safe with this, even following some of the latest trends, just trying to ride that whole Invictus bubblegum type of fragrance thing that so many designers now are churning out. And I can see that to a certain degree, but I'm also partial to this house and this collection. So I don't know. I find myself enjoying Ocean quite a bit. Where the Black had taken out the lavender is back in Ocean along with Iris. There's pink pepper off the top with suede and saffron in the mid, and then there's musk vetiver in the base. So it's still considered an aromatic type of scent, but yes, it does have those sweet bubblegum kind of aspects to it. Is it groundbreaking? Not at all. But let's be honest, that is really not what Prada has been about with this whole collection. The Luna Rossa collection is more about just very appealing, easy to wear, enjoyable scents that are fresh, clean smelling, even elegant. And like with Black, elegant and sexy. I don't really know what people were expecting with the Ocean release. I think the only thing for me is that the name, of course, threw me off just a little bit because I was kind of expecting maybe an aquatic with a name like that, but that's not anywhere close to what you get with Ocean. But still, very, very nice scent. I like it. As far as performance on these, every single fragrance in the Luna Rossa line does pretty good, on my skin at least. They're not beast mode by any means, but they're also not your typical 2-3 hour fragrance like a lot of these designer brands are putting out now. On average, I get about 4 to 5 hours from most of them. Sport and Black, again, which are my favorites, I get a little bit more. Those are my best performing. I get more like 6 to 7 from those. All right, that will do it for this video. As you can clearly see, I'm a huge fan of this collection. I really enjoy the fragrances. What about you? What do you think about the Luna Rossa collection? Do you enjoy them as much as I do? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed the content, please take a moment to like it. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel as well. Your support is much appreciated. And until the next time, hope you guys stay well. Take care.